Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's a rainy, cozy day here in North Carolina, and instead of us chilling, we decided we wanted to do something a little different. Well, hubby wanted to do something a little different. Today I'm gonna sit down with my husband, Carlos, and I'm gonna just ask him some real talk about life questions, challenges, lessons he's learned through his own experiences, and we just hope that it inspires or helps somebody, anybody, who may need to hear this today. So hang out, check us out. I'm gonna ask you 5 questions, okay? And I want you to give your honest, best answer to them from your heart, from your gut. Good?
Yep.
All right, guys. Here we go. Before I start the questions, if you guys feel like there are certain things you want to ask and hear Carlos' opinion on, or myself, just please, leave a comment under the video and let us know what you're thinking and what you want us to answer for you. Anyway, here we go. First question, Carlos. What's a defining moment in your life that changed how you view the world?
A defining moment. I I honestly I honestly don't know if it was one particular moment or just like a little series of moments, because when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I was just starting out, like, and I quickly learned, like most of us, that life is hard. Like, it's cold and cruel out there, and you have to have grit and resilience and strength, to adapt and push through and stuff like that. And in my earlier years, I was a very negative person. Like I grew up in the South Bronx, in the hood, in the projects, and like I saw negativity everywhere I went, so that carried with me. Plus, the stuff that, I experienced, the trauma I experienced as a child. So like I had a very negative outlook in my life and for my life, the first parts of it. And somebody, somebody said to me one day, I was talking about like struggling to get an apartment and pay rent, and dealing with the things that I was dealing with, and I was just so negative. And this old guy that I his name was, I don't even remember his name right now, but I used to see him. I would go to this park every day to hang out and play handball and basketball and stuff. And there was this old guy that would sit there, on a bench. Do you remember the benches, the tables used to have the little chess and checkers
Yeah.
thing? And he'd be out. He was an old. He was probably my age now. Then I'm 46 now, and he was. He made some mistakes in life, and he was a felon and stuff like that, and but he was very grounded, and he told me, young blood. He said, "Come here. Let me tell you something." He said, if you only ever see negative shit, if you only ever focus on negative shit, then that's all you ever gonna see is the negative shit. And he taught me, he's like, there's beauty in the world every day, everywhere you go, every minute, there's beauty. Like, look, the sun is out. That's beautiful. And he's like, there's beauty everywhere you go. You just have to choose to see it. And from that moment on, I just tried to tried to see the beauty and the positivity in the world, and not, the negative is always like boom right there, right? Because that's what people want to share. That's what people are fixated on. But if you
It's
choose,
always highlighted. It's the
right,
negative.
if you choose to look at the positive and see it that way, then that you'll see it all the time.
What is the hardest emotional battle you've faced or are facing, and how did you fight through it, or are you still fighting through it?
I'm gonna answer this, but she knows the answer to this. When we first got together, well, a few years into our relationship, Lexi started to notice that I was angry, and not that I was angry, but then when I was angered, like I'd take it to another level. And she came to realize that there was much more under the surface why I was angry than just the situation that was occurring. So she urged me to get counseling, to seek counseling, and get find out, get to the bottom of it and stuff. And she urged me to get to the bottom of it, and that's when I uncovered like my mental illnesses, and that's when like the trauma that I experienced like was that's when I realized that what I experienced was trauma. Like the things that I had gone through, the things that I suffered through, the relationship with my mom and stuff like that. Like that's when I realized, wow, like that wasn't normal what I went through, and that's not the way things should go and stuff like that. So it was weirdly enough when you go through it and as you're going through it, like it doesn't seem, if that's all you know, then it doesn't seem abnormal, right? Like I was just having this conversation with my wife, like it doesn't seem abnormal until somebody from the outside looks in and says, like that's not, you know that's not right, like that's not things. And you look back, and like I told her, we were just having this conversation the other day where I said, like, sometimes it feels like a story I read or a movie I watched. Like it happened to somebody else. It's so surreal. So learning all of that and having to come to terms with what I experienced was an emotional toll. And sometimes, most times I'm good and I can talk about it, and I feel what I feel. But if you're like me, and if you're watching this channel, is because we share similar things, that healing is not linear. It's not linear. Sometimes you're on a high and you're good, and then other times you come crashing down like it just happened all over again. So I'm still dealing with that. I'm probably, I don't know how Lexi would agree, but I'm probably like 75, 80% there. Like,
I would agree.
I'm days I'm like talking about it now is making me emotional, but days, I'm most of the time I'm fine, but there are days when it hurts and it hits, and I remember, and you know.
What do you think today's young men struggle with the most?
I think that there's a, not that I think, I know from being a young man, there's a narrative that says that men have to be a certain way and we have to portray ourselves a certain way because it doesn't look manly. Now, I advocate for our right to be human. Now, I'm not saying that you should go sit in a corner somewhere and cry your eyes out every day and let the world come to a halt or pass you by. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that while you're out there being a man, and doing the things that real men do, and caring for your family and handling business and taking on responsibility and stuff like that, all I'm saying is that when you need a break, allow yourself to take a break. When you're feeling that things are being overwhelming, allow yourself to do that. Like, don't listen to the narrative or to whoever, family members, your significant other, your children. Don't listen to anybody who says that you're wrong or you're less than a man for saying to yourself, like, dude, I need a day. I need an hour. I need 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, don't listen to anybody that tells you to do that, because our battle is hard, and there are a lot of people, that don't appreciate the hard work that men do, and you can't allow yourself to be consumed by that. So I think that, allowing yourself to be human and realizing your limits to say, I need a moment to, I'll get back into the fight. But right now, even prize fighters get to sit down for 60 seconds before having to continue to fight, right? So don't assume that you don't need a break and that you can just keep going and going and going. So allow yourself to be human, take the break when needed so that you can continue doing and being the man that you need to be.
However, question number 4 is, what's one piece of advice you give to a young man feeling lost in life?
I would say I read something on Threads. which I'm an active member on. I'm trying to grow there. So if you're on Threads, look me up. Same name, Carlos Inez. Anyway, I'm on Threads and I read a post that somebody said, a woman said that in her household, her children at the moment they turn 18 have to go to college or the military. I wanted to comment so bad, but I didn't because it was none of my business and I'm not that type of person to just, but I feel like a lot of times, men especially, once we turn 18, it's like we have to figure this out. It kills me when I hear, like, you hear in the news and stuff like that, and the person's 18 and they're like this man, and I'm like, and I remember being 18. I remember thinking like, I don't know shit, bro. Like, like,
I was just 17 yesterday.
like my birthday is this day. My birthday's on the 30th. So what do I know on the 30th that I didn't know on the 29th? You know what I mean? So it's like, I realized I'm like, I didn't know shit. Like my childhood was preparing me for the beginning of my life as an adult. You know what I'm saying? And I think people put so much emphasis on being a man, and for men, it's like you're supposed to figure this shit out. The 18, and a lot of times we get lost because we're we we're torn between not knowing who we are most times, or even if you have a clue of what you want to do with your life, you're hit with life, so you're forced to do things you have to do to move through life. And a lot of times that makes people lost, and that makes men, people lost and unsure, because you're like, damn, where's all my dreams and aspirations and things that I wanted to do? And here I am working here because I have to pay rent and I have to, so I think I would say that you have to find, unfortunately, life doesn't stop, right? Like we have to do what we have to do. Like you have to live. So, I would say if your parents are okay with it, stay home as long as you can and figure yourself out. Go get you a job to pay your cell phone or car note or insurance, whatever it is you got. But never stop, or always take the time for you to figure out what is it that you want to do with your life and the direction that you want to go. And if you can't stay home, then set time aside when you have the free time in your busy schedule and things that you're doing to always contemplate what it is that you want with your life and how you want to go about it. Go sit, go toward the beach, the lake, or wherever your happy place is, wherever it is, and think about that and take the time. Like, again, life is not going to give you time, so you have to take it whenever you can, and don't let anybody tell you no.
How do you find purpose when life feels meaningless?
um how do you find purpose?
So let me just.
Oh.
So your channel, right? Your YouTube channel, you tell your story all about building the purpose, what your purpose in life is and what it is that you want to do with life. So in this question, how do you find purpose when life feels meaningless? I'm sure that there's been, points in this journey where, you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What goes through your mind in those moments?
How I found to answer that, how I keep going, I have to touch in a little bit on how I found my purpose. I don't know, just going through what I went through. I I just I got to a point, I didn't realize it at the time. It wasn't like growing up, I didn't say like this was what I was gonna do. I found myself in life at a point where I was in a leadership position at work, and I hired a young man, who I called preacher because he was a he was really religious and stuff like it at the time, and I hadn't found God at that level at that moment, so it was kind of a way to poke fun at him. But anyway, We became really good friends, by the way. So like, just pointing that out. But anyway, preacher came and I just saw a guy like he didn't come from a broken home because he had like his mom like I know his mom, like his mom is a good, respectable woman who did what she had to do to raise her children. So in that aspect, like, he didn't come from a broken home, but I can see the fact of like he didn't grow up with a dad in the traditional sense. So there was a lot of guidance that he was seeking, even though he didn't know he was seeking it. And I just saw his potential. He was charismatic. He was energetic. He was just an awesome human being. And I just saw his potential. And I just felt like, man, like maybe I can help him, steer him in a good direction to where he can find his purpose and move from there. So, and that's how it started. Preacher was the first person I unofficially coached because he was my employee. So, I mean, I did coach him, but not as a coaching client, I guess. But anyway, through the last 2 years after I left my career, and the struggle that I've been going through and doing the things that I tried to do because I felt like this was the way that I had to do it, even though it wasn't exactly aligned with the way I wanted to do things. But when things got rough, I just kept reminding myself that what I'm trying to do is bigger than me, and that there's somebody out there who's gonna need to hear what I have to say. There's somebody out there who's gonna benefit one day from the things that I shared and the things that I've gone through and the things that, I've lived and experienced. And I just kept telling myself that if I don't keep going, if I don't find the strength and the discipline to keep going, no matter all the bullshit that I was going through with the homelessness and not eating and not having a job and stuff like that, like I just kept telling myself, like, if I don't show up, then somebody who needs me is never going to find me. Somebody who I might be able to help will not find the help they need. And that's what just kept me showing up, every day. That's what kept me from, keep me picking up the camera and making these vlogs and sharing my experiences and my input and stuff like that in the hopes that, somebody does see it and it does help somebody and it does inspire somebody and it makes them feel less alone. So
If you're watching this and you're going through something tough, guys, we want you to know, Carlos and I both want you to know that you're not alone. Drop a comment again, drop a comment below if there's a topic that you would like for us to dive deeper into for the next video or at another time. We'd love to keep these conversations going, but we definitely need your input. So drop a comment. Thanks for hanging out with us on this rainy day. It's cloudy and I guess you can tell from the lighting in the video. If it did, hit the like button, subscribe for more real talks like this, and we'll see you in the next vlog.
So I'm standing at this church right here, just getting B-roll and stuff. Like, I think it's a beautiful building. And the damn bells went off, scared the shit out of me.